Hello everybody, welcome to the Digital Marketing Punkcast. So today I'm live on Facebook, if you're not listening to this on the actual podcast itself, but I am live on Facebook, so hello everybody that's listening and watching. Today I'm here to discuss about the very recent Google search algorithm change, broad core change. Now that may seem like a lot of sort of technical jargon, so I'm going to be talking today, very quick podcasts all about what that means, and I'm also going to explain a little bit about the backstory of what a Google algorithm change is, what that actually means, what it's been like in the past to what it means today. The reason I'm doing that, twofold. It's a really interesting sort of topic to discuss, and one that I would have covered anyway on the podcast at some point. It just seems a little bit more relevant now that we've had this very big change, which you may or may not have heard about, but I'll discuss that in a second. The second reason is if you have that backstory and understanding of how things were in the Google algorithm change world, then you're sort of better equipped to talk about that with your agency or your freelancer, your digital marketing freelancer. So I thought that was quite important to sort of talk about. And it's one of those things that things change so fast in this world that it's a lot different now how algorithm changes actually are done now to how they were. So that's a really key difference, because I know a lot of marketers, digital marketers certainly, that claim to be here in this industry for the last 20 years and claim that they know everything and nothing shocks them. They actually don't realise that a lot has changed, and they're still very much in that their old ways and their old understanding, because they just haven't kept up to date. Me personally, I think that I'm very much well up to date with these kind of things, and I want to sort of put that across to you so you have an understanding. And this whole world of digital marketing is very much sort of hearsay, and they said this and she said that and he said that and stuff like that. So I want to sort of give you a very clear picture of how this actually works. Hopefully. I say a clear picture, but I realise this is all very technical, and we're talking about Google, who are this massive search engine conglomerate, and they're very tech savvy and stuff like that. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible for you to understand. Not that I'm dumbing you down saying you're stupid, but it can get very technical, and if you don't have that technical know-how and that technical knowledge, then it can get a little bit confusing. So I'm going to try and make this as simple as possible so everybody can understand it. It's accessible to everybody. So hopefully I'm able to do that. So first part of this, I'm going to talk about Google algorithm changes in general. Okay, I'm going to talk about what an update is, what a Google algorithm update actually means, and what that's meant in the past. I'm going to talk about that. The second part of this, I'm going to talk about this specific change that's happened very recently. About the 1st of August was when we started seeing this new algorithm change, and I'm going to talk about what that means, what effect that has had, and what you can do. Hopefully any tips and advice that I can give. So let's get started. What's an update? Okay, Google, the search engine. Let's get this right. So Google, the search engine, when you type a keyword or a phrase or a query or anything into Google, then there is a set of programmed rules that are defined for those search results to come up, and that means that when the search results come up, there is predefined set rules to say, okay, well, this site we think is going to be most valuable, this site is second most valuable, blah blah blah. There is a huge amount of rules and code and programming language to decide and define that. As SEOers, as marketers, we know a certain amount, a very limited amount. Google have never come out and said, this is the algorithm, enjoy, because if they did that, then it'd be very susceptible. We could cheat the system, we could get websites up to the top of Google that don't deserve to be there, and Google's mindset is, We only want to show the most valuable content at the top for our users. We don't care about the marketers per se that just want to get their site to the top. We only want the users to get the best possible user experience, which is completely understandable. So when it comes to the algorithm, Google are very hush-hush. I don't say a lot of things. They'll give us little insights now and again, and sometimes they give us accidental insights that we can use and utilize. But on the whole, they're very quiet about it, and that's completely fair and completely understandable. What they do say is, the way and the means in which we can make our websites that we work at as marketers and as business owners. If you have your own websites, they tell us, okay, how can we make our website as quality and as good as possible for our users? And that's completely right as well. So they say, well, if you do this and you provide this and you do this for the user, then we're going to reward you for that, with high rankings and more traffic, etc., etc. So they do say that. So that's what the algorithm is. It's a set of rules that define where everything sort of ranks. And you've probably heard from agencies and people that have done digital marketing in the past, well, this is good for the algorithm, this is good for rankings, and some of them may be true and some of them may be not true. We clearly define those tactics into 3 columns, okay? That is white hat columns, so that's white hat SEO techniques, which are things which are good and that provide quality and provide value, and these are tactics that we know work, and they may be a little bit more difficult, but we know work, and they're sort of long-term tactics, but Google will approve of them, okay? There are grey tactics, which is this thing in the middle, which are good, but could be seen as not so good as well, and then there's black hat. Black hat tactics are things that basically just trying to fool Google into thinking, right, this is a really high-quality website. Which still happens today and is still around, and that's not a good thing, because if you do use an agency or a freelancer or a marketer and they use black hat techniques, then I'm sorry, but something's going to go horrifically wrong, okay? And you're going to pay the price for it, in terms of your rankings, in terms of your traffic, in terms of your business, so stay clear of that one. And it's sad to say that agencies still do this, and marketers still do this, and freelancers still do this. So be aware of that, and hopefully I can give you guidance in what to avoid, and those sort of warning flags, I suppose, of sort of black hat techniques. So, why does it change? There's another key question, I suppose. Why does the algorithm change so often? Well, there are a myriad of different reasons. Obviously, Google wants to make sure that the value of the content that it's providing from a search query, if I go and search for wedding cakes, okay, I say wedding cakes because I've been baking recently, I suppose. It's been at the forefront of my mind. I baked yesterday for the first time ever. So, wedding cakes, search term for wedding cakes. Google want to make sure that the top result for wedding cakes, or wedding cakes in London, wedding cakes in Manchester, is the most valuable place for a user to go if they want to search for wedding cakes. So they want to know about wedding cakes, or they want to go and buy a wedding cake, blah, blah, blah. So they change it because of new information that comes in, new ways that users sort of interact with websites as well, what users believe are more valuable, so they change things. And some of the older techniques that used to get used, and some of the older ways that Google used to rank things, may be a little bit outdated now, so they need to update it. And that's why we have these changes that go on and on and on and keep coming around. Now, I suppose a misconception would be that Google change their algorithm a couple of times a year, once every couple of months, which is true and not true at the same time. The truth of the matter is, and this is something that I very recently learned from an article that came out, I don't know who posted it, I believe it was on the Roundtable, but an article came out and basically said that Google admitted that their algorithm changes at least 7 times a day across a year on average, okay? At least 7 times per day. That's how many times it changes. What used to happen, and this is where the confusion comes in, what used to happen is Google would only change their algorithm every couple of months. The reason for that is because the algorithm was changed by humans, by us, by the people at Google who would go, right, okay, well, we're noticing this in our algorithm, the quality of this site isn't quite there, but it's looking like the quality is there because our algorithm is misunderstanding this, and then humans would go away and change that in the algorithm. They'd collate all those changes together, and then they would push them out to us as searchers, onto Google, as it were, pushed live. That doesn't happen anymore. Now the Google algorithm changes. I'm going to say that term a lot. You're probably going to get really annoyed with me saying Google algorithm changes, so I fundamentally apologise, but I've got to say it. The Google algorithm changes are now not led by humans. We have a new implementation of the algorithm, which is called RankBrain, and this is now artificial intelligence. This is machine learning. Now, don't misconstrue me when I think that machine learning is baked and built into Google. It's not. Machine learning goes on the side. It goes on within Google, and they will put queries and results through this machine, and it's artificial intelligence, which will try and figure out what results are coming up, which of those sites actually provide quality, and it will spit out some ideas of changes that will happen to the algorithm. And then a human will come in and decide, okay, well, this definitely works and this doesn't work, so let's get rid of that, and then it will be implemented. Which means that things can happen a lot quicker, and it means that the changes to the algorithm are a lot smaller. Sometimes changes to an algorithm can only affect a certain amount of websites. They can only affect a certain vertical of websites. And they're not what we now call as broad core. Broad core meaning these algorithm changes which basically affect a large proportion of websites. So there's one misconception. Algorithm changes happen all the time. And you can see that happening. If you look at a large number of websites that are ranking and they're ranking results across a broad spectrum, you can see that sites go up, they go down all the time. And that's not just because of competition levels, that's because of these very small changes in the algorithm. So there's one misconception. What does happen, though, is we get these very occasional broad core algorithm updates, which is what we're going to be discussing later on. This very latest update was a broad core algorithm update. These affected a large number of websites. They affected a lot of the websites that I look after. They affected a lot of websites that all over the world, across different verticals. And what we and these broad cores only happen every so often, and we see them when we all get very scared and we go and then people panic. Okay, so I want to make it clear about what those different types of algorithm update. Don't get confused when people say, oh, well, they only happen every couple of months. They don't. They happen a lot, every single day, an algorithm update. And it may only seem like a small change, but if you can imagine how quickly those add up over the course of a long period of time. It's just that sometimes we get big algorithm changes come out, which is the one we've had very recently from the 1st of August. So that is essentially what an algorithm change is. That's what an algorithm update is. It is changes to that code which decides where things rank. And if you want more information about that, go over to, what's the website? Go over to Moz. They have a good list of what the algorithm is sort of broken down into, and what we know so far as marketers is what a good website should be in terms of the Google algorithm. They update that quite frequently, which is quite good. So go over to moz.com. I think it's in the Learn section, and go and check that out if you want to know more about how you can sort of improve the quality of your website in the eyes of Google. The other thing to remember, I suppose this is another key point that I wanted to get across, is you have to have a very key balance when we're discussing about the algorithm change. And the reason I say that is because you can't just completely focus on Google algorithm. So you can't just completely focus your website on, well, I want to make it really good for the Google algorithm. If you do that, then what you'll end up with is a site which users still hate to go on, even though Google wants, sites which are good for users, if you just focus purely on Google algorithm and getting your site there so you can get traffic, then you're going to end up with a very messy, horrible site. Trust me. So what you want to find is that balance between a user experience, and sometimes this can take priority, and in most cases this can take priority. You can almost think of the algorithm changes as secondary. The algorithm as a secondary. If you can sort of make that balance between user, because this is what's going to get you to convert if people are landing on your website. If you can get your website to convert with good content, etc., etc., and a good user experience, and people think, oh, this was a really good site, I'm going to contact them, call them, whatever, then this is what's going to really get them to convert. But then you can think of this as, well, you know, I need to do this which marries up with this, and get that balance really working well. It will really do wonders for you. But what we're ending up with, and what we will end up with, is, which Google are still sort of working around, is this marryment already, which is that a good user experience also equates and is equal to a good ranking and good traffic. And that's what we're getting to, and we're still getting to that, because we're still very much in the dark ages of search engine optimization, how we used to do things, but that is changing, but it's just going to change very, very slowly. Or will it? We don't know. We don't know what's coming around the corner. In 2 more months, or in 3 more months, or tomorrow, we could get another huge algorithm change which changes everything. I doubt that's going to happen. Why? Because it would cause chaos. They would probably much rather do this bit by bit, change by change, so that business owners, marketers would be able to respond and react to what we're seeing, because they'd rather give that frequent update of, you need to improve your content, you need to improve the quality, you need to improve the user experience on your website, rather than just going, right, that's it, cutting everything off, because that would cause absolute mayhem and chaos. So that is what a Google algorithm is. That's how frequently they come to fruition. They come to fruition every single day, numerous times a day, but a broad core every so often. We see it a lot. We had another very recent broad core algorithm update, which didn't get a lot of sort of people talking about it because we knew it was coming, and that was a mobile speed update a couple of months ago. So a couple of months ago, if you didn't already know, there was another broad core algorithm update which said, okay, if your site, now we live in this world where mobile rules all, that's complete rubbish, but where mobile is being more frequently used and people are using it and searching on it more than desktop users, which is a fact, then we need to make sure that people on 3G, 4G are able to load your website as fast as they would if you were on your fibre optic at home. And that was really key as well, which is another thing you should be checking. Check your mobile speed. If you want to do that, Google have a series of tools which allow you to do that. There's the mobile friendly test, friendliness test, which checks to see if your website is mobile friendly. Everybody should be doing that, because that's going to be a really hot topic, and has been a really hot topic for a while now. You should go and check if your website is mobile friendly. Still a huge number of websites out there that are not mobile friendly. And go and do a speed test as well. So Google have a tool which will put your web address in, and it'll check to see what speed. And I'll break it down, mobile and desktop. If it's anything below 60, go and get it checked out by a developer or someone in the know to get that speed back up there, because that's really, really key at the moment. But that's by the by. I'm going to take a break here before I go on and move on to talking about this current update that happened very recently. I want to talk about something which I've very recently set up that I feel will be really valuable. So I have set up a new Facebook group. I'll explain why I've done it. Personally, I feel that if you want to drive your digital marketing forward, as a business owner, someone that's doing it themselves, then it's best to do it through experience. So how I'm talking about the Google algorithm change now, and how it's been like in the past, and how that relates to how it is now, is really useful information. And it means that you can be more proactive. And So experience is key in this game of digital marketing. So and that's not just the experience that you go through being a business owner, that's the experience that everyone goes through. So I wanted to create a bit of a free community of business owners that will be able to come together and discuss ideas, share thoughts, share experiences, share feedback within this Facebook group. So that is what I've created. I've called it the Punk Digital Marketing Business Network. You can go over there now on Facebook if you search for the Punk Digital Marketing Business Network and join. Hopefully I want to create a bit of a community of business owners together to talk about and share their ideas and their experiences. There's going to be me on there as well, providing content like this. I'm going to be providing other live videos, tips, advice, answering some of your questions, your query, giving you feedback, which will be really cool. But the point is I want to create a community of peers, of like-minded people just there and helping each other out to talk about their digital marketing efforts, because sometimes you need that support. Because you don't know if what you're doing is right or wrong, or even if it matters if it's right or wrong. You just need someone to be able to guide you in the right direction. And that doesn't have to be an expert, that can merely be someone that's experienced it before. So go over, if you think that's going to be valuable to you, go over to Facebook and search for Punk Digital Marketing Business Network, or if you can go onto my page, facebook.com/digital marketing punk, you'll be able to find the group from there. Ask to join and engage and talk and chat and share your experiences and your thoughts and what you'd like help with if that's what you want, and hopefully people there will be able to help and assist you. So go and check that out. Okay, so this update then, this Google algorithm update, what does it mean? Well, first of all, the difference with this update is it's a broad core algorithm search update, which I've already discussed, and we had no forewarning about it whatsoever. Stuff like the mobile speed update that I discussed earlier, we did have forewarning about. We knew it was coming. Google announced it, they said it was coming, and they warned us about it. This one they didn't. That's what made this one different. The fact that it was broad core, that's made it different as well. Who did it affect most? Well, it affected a lot of websites. But if you go over, what I saw actually was a piece of research done by Barry Schwartz, who's a very prominent figure in SEO. And after the update happened, he took a lot of different websites which people submitted to him, and he basically collated and looked at the data and saw who it affected the most. He didn't look into huge detail about sort of certain minutiae, different types of websites or what were on those websites. He didn't look in huge detail, but what he did notice was it affected a huge proportion of health and medical websites. We don't know what that means. We don't know why it did that, but it did affect a lot of medical and health websites. So that's why he's named this the Medic Update. So if you do have a health or medical type of, even a well-being sort of website as well, you may find that you probably affected more than other people were. It did affect a lot of other websites. It affected essentially all types of websites, but in particular, it affected health and medical websites the most. E-commerce was another one, probably secondary, that was most hit, and general business websites as well. But to be honest, looking at that data, the business websites is just because there is a huge proportion of business websites in comparison to other websites. So not sure what can be taken from that. What can be done about it? What can be done about this algorithm? If you've been hit, but I say hit, I hate that term, but if you have been hit by this algorithm update, what can you do? To be honest, Google have not come out and said anything, and it seems to be a sort of a trend at the moment when these algorithm changes happen. They basically come out and say there is nothing that you can do about this algorithm update, which isn't strictly true. People sort of misunderstand that and misconstrue that, saying, oh, well, there's nothing I can do, I'm not going to do anything. That's not true. What you can't do is a quick fix, and that's what everyone is expecting Google to come up with, a quick fix. What is it that is about my website which is causing it to be deranked, or drop down the rankings? What you can do is huge. You can keep providing good quality content on your website. Keep writing things on your website, which is going to be of use to your users. If you're not doing that already, then you should be. You should be thinking about what my users want to read, which is obviously related to your business. So, if you have, I'm going to take wedding cakes again. If you have a website about wedding cakes, you don't have to keep talking about yourself. If you keep talking about yourself, people are going to get bored, by the way, and no one's going to care. But if you're writing content about, food intolerances of wedding cakes and how you can accommodate for that, vegan wedding cakes, which is probably a very big thing at the moment. Not that I know, I eat meat. But, if you're talking about vegan wedding cakes, then that's going to be of use. And that's relevant content, which is going to be useful. So keep writing content and putting it on your website. And make sure it's quality. The more in-depth it is, the more accessible it is, the better. Don't misunderstand me. People think, keep writing content. That does not mean write an absolute essay and keep writing absolute essays. That's not strictly true at all. What it means is quality content. That is merely saying that if you can make succinct, good, readable content that is understandable, that is valuable to a user, Google is smart enough to know whether that is valuable content, even if it's only 900 to 1,000 words. There used to be this rule, and you may have heard of it in your experiences. People said, if you want good quality content, it has to be a minimum of 4,000 words. That's rubbish. I almost swore then, realised I was live, but it's absolutely rubbish. That's not the case whatsoever. We're talking about quality content, and that just means making something which people want to read, and people want to engage in, and people want to interact with. And that, into its sort of very basic terms, it's just about knowing your audience, okay? The other misconception is, why would I want to write this content? It's not relevant to me. It's not going to help me sell anything. You couldn't be more wrong, okay? If you're writing content which is semi-relevant to your business and people are going to want to interact and engage with, and people are going to be searching for and finding, then people are going to see it. People are going to know about you. It's a great branding exercise. They're going to come back to your business because they've seen how much, what good quality content that you've got. People are going to link to it, and if you can get links, then that helps. That helps your rankings as well. That is what you should be doing. And if you're not doing that, you need to be thinking about it. It doesn't have to take a huge amount of your time. You're just writing a little bit of quality content each and every week. If that's not in your time schedule, then each and every month, and just keep doing it, and you will reap the rewards from it. Another point, sorry, I've realised I haven't covered this already. How can you tell if you've been affected? That's probably a really key point that I've not really said anything about. How can you tell if you've been affected? Number one, go to your Google Analytics. If you don't have Google Analytics installed in your site, go and do it. It's really simple. Certainly with tools now like Google Tag Manager, go and implement Google Analytics and start seeing your data. If you don't know what Google Analytics is, essentially it'll tell you exactly what traffic is coming to your website, where they're coming from, where they're interacting with your site, which gives you information about, what's the best and the most important copy on your site and text on your site, what people are interacting with the most, things like that. Really useful information on there. If you want to see if you've been affected, go and have a look at your analytics data, go and have a look at your acquisition section, and then drop down and just look at organic search and see if you've had a tail off of traffic since the 1st of August-ish. Do it over a prominent amount of time so you're not seeing the waves, the general waves that you see. But go and see if that's had an effect. The other way that you can see is if you go onto your Search Console. That's what used to be called Google Webmaster Tools, but it's Search Console now. Go onto Search Console and see if you've had a reduced number of indexed pages on your website. Because that's that's what a lot of people are seeing, to be perfectly honest. And they're seeing a reduced number of index pages on their website. Again, from that 1st of August-ish sort of timescale. It did roll out over a couple of days. So it'll be 1st of August onwards-ish. Okay, so that's all about this update. hopefully I've been able to give you some advice. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep providing quality content. At the end of the day, this algorithm update will all be about quality, okay? They have said, and this is the other thing that Google have said, but they've said this about a couple of algorithm updates now. They have said that it's more about this algorithm update, those underrated pages, which perhaps haven't had the rankings which they've deserved, coming back up. And this is why Google have said you can't do anything about it. You can't do anything about a Google ranking drop. And we're basically upping those that have been perhaps underrated in the past before. If they've been underrated, there's a reason why they've been underrated. So you need to be looking at your competitors and seeing what they are doing. Have a look at those around you in the search results pages and see what their site is like. Have they got more pictures, more video, more content, useful content, a better flow of content, and have a look and steal and take ideas and implement them onto your own site and see if that has an effect. So that's my advice, essentially. Sometimes what you'll see, if you have been affected by this Google algorithm update, you will see a correction period. What I mean by that is you will see the algorithm update, a drop in traffic or a drop in index pages, and then a couple of days later there'll be a correction. Sometimes this happens with Google algorithm updates, sometimes they don't, and sometimes it can take about a week or so for it to come into effect. But don't rely on that, okay? If you've just left your website to be, hoping that it will be corrected, don't. Take a look at your website, take a look at your competitors and see what they are doing, and start implementing changes and providing value and quality content, because that's the only thing you can do. Okay, that's it from me. I hope you found it useful. I'm going to sign off now. If you do want to get in touch with me, then please do. You can actually email me now at punkcast@digitalmarketingpunk.co.uk. Go over to the Facebook page, which if you're watching live you're already on, but that's facebook.com/digitalmarketingpunk. You can tweet me at digital_punk as well, or you can find me on LinkedIn if you search for Thomas Marriott. Connect with me, talk with me, chat with me. If you disagree with what I've said, then that's absolutely fine. I will fight you. If you agree with me, then that's great. And do subscribe to the podcast if you are watching this live on Facebook at the moment. Go and search for Digital Marketing Punkcast. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I will do more of these sort of shorter, I say shorter, it's been going on for almost 50 minutes, shorter podcasts all about specific individual entities. So thank you very much.